And if you could present that screen. Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm connected on two different computers. So in case I get booted off one, hopefully I'll be able to get on this one. I'm just going to stop my video too. That way, hopefully the bandwidth will be good. But first of all, I wanted to welcome Abdurrahman Chris Corrales. Thank you for joining us. Just to let everybody know, Abdurrahman Chris Corrales, he's a really good friend of mine. I've known him for about 20 years, or 19 years exactly, from the Bay Area. So super happy to have him joining us. Welcome, Abdurrahman.
Welcome. Solid gold.
Here.
All right. So cool. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. If we could go to the first slide. All right. So our Scrum Master didn't join today, or maybe he did, but I don't think he did. Doesn't look like he did. So I'm gonna actually ask somebody else to be a Scrum Master today. Who hasn't gone for a long time? Mikhail, can you be our Scrum Master today?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you read off the agenda today?
So the agenda for today is we're going to review the midterm exam. We're going to adjust to the learning plan. And we're going to go over CSM concepts, and then G Suite in Google Calendar. And then I guess I'm presenting tomorrow. All right, off to the. And then, we started, I think, about 2:02. And I see we introduced Abdurrahman, Chris Corrales, and Kelsey's here, Kamala. And then I think that's it. Is Amna here? I can't see.
Doesn't look like it. Yeah.
Okay. Off to you, Ali.
Cool. And just for Abdurrahman, just so you know, I typically I have somebody be the Scrum Master every time, and it's really random. So you might be called up, and if you're called up, all you got to do is introduce the agenda, and then you'll notice like Mikhail, he's gonna be taking notes on the side. So after the meeting is done, the Scrum Master would email the entire group the meeting notes, and the meeting notes is like the participants, the time, and the any major issues, questions, open items that came up, and then next steps. Like for example, if there's a homework assignment. In this case, like tomorrow's presentation, that would be by Mikhail, so that would be listed there. Cool. So we go to the next slide. All right, the midterm review. So you guys all did really good. So don't feel bad about anything. Seriously, it was, and I feel kind of weird because the questions were like 9 questions. So if you get like one wrong, it's like that's like 20% of the test, right? So and I know they were kind of tricky, but I did want to recognize Bilal got 100%. I was really shocked on part 1 and part 2. Kelsey did really good. She got like over 95% on part 1 and part 2. So just to mention again, don't worry about the scores. This was the first midterm. We're gonna have midterms every Friday, and we're gonna have a final exam on the last day of the class for this course, which will be on Friday, November 1st. So again, don't stress out. It's all good. I like the fact that we're meeting every day, and so keep it up. Next slide. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention great effort. Masha Allah, like oh yeah, by the way, whenever we use Arabic words like Masha Allah and stuff like that, I just wanted to mention this. Well, Kelsey's joining us, and she's not Muslim, and I always try to like translate a lot of these terms because one time she asked me like what these words mean, and I know I tend to use it as well. So if we use any Arabic words, if we could just like translate it. I know I just said Masha Allah, and all that means is means like God caused it to happen. But yeah, so Chris Corrales 100% in part 1. I thought that was really impressive. So awesome job. He kind of like, you know, because he went through all the lectures, all the notes. He went through all the YouTube videos. He studied really hard, and he killed it. So I want to recognize him. And then Kamala, she got really close to me. I saw the questions she got wrong, and they were like really tricky. Pretty much her answers were correct. So like I would say that she pretty much got 100%, but very close to an A. So we could go to the next slide. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Am I clear?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. So last slide, don't trip, Mikhail Amina. I know Amina, she really struggled. And I think it was just, she got a little bit stressed out when she was taking the test, she was saying. So she doesn't know what happened. Mikhail did pretty good. I saw your questions, like, there were like 3 questions wrong and they were very close. So like, again, don't trip. The actual final exam.
And for the record, multiple choice questions are outdated.
That's true, man. I mean, I should have done.
I'm a former teacher, so I'm good. I was like, really trying me here.
All right. So you go to the next slide. All right. So the next midterm is going to be Friday. We're going to do it during the class, so that way, you know, you don't have to do it on off hours. So every Friday, the class will be dedicated to the exam. We go to the next one. All right, so the final exam is going to be on Friday, November 1st. I'm going to do 60 questions. It's going to be very similar to this certified Scrum Master exam. I'm actually going to take questions directly out of it. That way, the idea is that, like, if you do good on that, you might as well literally just sign up for the certification exam, which costs like $100, and just take it and just get certified, because that certification will just put you ahead of everybody else that's applying for jobs. So my goal is to get you ready for that. And you know, if you guys do really good, like I wouldn't even mind like dropping my own money just to buy you guys the exams, so you could, those that did really well could get certified. I'd love for you guys to get certified, because that's gonna really help you. So the exam that I'm gonna do for you guys is gonna be pass or fail. So it should be way easier. It's not gonna be like ABC type thing. And if you pass, if you do good, which is going to be like, you know, you don't get an F, you don't, you know, you get 60% or more, then you'll go to the next course, which is the group projects. It's going to be really hard to fail, but if you do fail, then, you know, we'll probably remove you just because we don't want you to be behind. And then in the group projects, it's going to be critical because you're going to be relying on each other. Go to the next one. All right, so I'm going to make an adjustment to the Scrum Fundamentals course. So initially, I was planning on doing group projects now. If you go back to the previous slide. Sorry, Kamala. Yeah, if you go to the previous slide. Cool. Oh,
This one?
Oh, my bad. The next slide.
Previous, sorry.
Yeah, so the adjustment basically is
So this one.
Yep. There's not going to be any group project, because I noticed everybody's, you know, still kind of like absorbing the material. I'd rather you guys fully understand the fundamentals, and while doing so, I want to get you guys up to speed with applications that are going to be really important, especially in the group project phase. So for example, like, you guys got to have Google Calendar like down pat, like your Gmail stuff, your different applications that you're going to use. So you'd want to get access to that stuff and start playing around with it. So that way, when we go into the group project phase, you guys are ready to hit it really hard. And November could be a real strong month where we're basically building up your resume on real true projects. That way we're not lying on your resume and stuff like that. We're trying to keep it legitimate. And then in December, literally, we're just working on your LinkedIn, your resumes. And in January, you guys are actually applying for jobs, like legit, and interviewing in January. So that's my plan. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so CSM concepts. CSM stands for Certified Scrum Master, and the goal again is for you guys to be able to take the test after finish So the next 1 month, I'm gonna kind of cram a lot of material to you guys. I'll be testing you guys every Friday, and then hopefully you guys will be ready to do it through the Scrum Alliance. And my wife just took this test about 3 weeks ago, and she passed. But the first time she took it, she failed. So it's kind of tricky, but you know, I'll help you through it. So we go to the next slide. All right, so like I said, group projects, the idea is that, like, you know, you're gonna have to pass this course.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, sorry.
All right. You're gonna have to pass this course. You guys will be paired in groups of 2. When we do the group project phase in November, you're gonna have your very own instance of Jira, you know, the Jira application. So I'm gonna set you guys up with your own Jira board, your own Kanban board, legitimate, like the same stuff we use in the real world. You're gonna be creating your very own product backlog that's relevant to your life. So, for example, you know, Abdurrahman, let's say, for example, if it's in your case, let's say you're managing clients, you have a lot of things going on at your job and your work. For your product backlog, you'd have user stories that have to do with the work that you got to get done that week, almost like priority lists. And then the daily stand-up, you're going to be meeting with your partner every single day, and it'll be like literally a daily stand-up. That could be a phone call, but it's every single day at a special time where you and your partner will decide on when that time will be, and you'll be meeting every day, giving a quick status update. And then we'll have the 30-minute class. So that way, the idea here is that we don't want to be lying when you're interviewing. We want you to do the real, actual work that's going to be on your resume. And this is, November will be focused on that. So that way, you know, because the worst thing is if you're interviewing and you're going to feel really bad in your heart if you're lying in, like, through your teeth on your interview. So we want to make sure that November, all the projects are being done, and you know, it'll make everything truthful. All right, next slide. Meeting emails. Oh, cool. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and I'm going to I'm going to share my screen. Oh, can you stop sharing screen, Kamala?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Maybe you can't. I think you guys can see my screen, right? I mean, can somebody like unmute themselves just to let me know if you could see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool, awesome, thank you. Okay, so I just want to give you guys a really quick walkthrough of a few meetings, how professional meetings are kind of documented. Believe it or not, it's not really, every meeting is kind of done differently at different companies, but I wanted you guys to kind of see some of it, so. All right, so these are just some examples. So this email that I'm popping up, this is from a Scrum Master, and he wrote this email. After a release. So after, as you guys know, that in Scrum, there's several sprints. Sprints are like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever. And after a few of the sprints, let's say 3 sprints or 5 sprints or what have you, you're going to release. And a release is when all the code that they've been working on throughout those sprints, they're actually going to go to the production environment, meaning it's going to go live. So post-deployment, deployment means the process of getting your code into deploying it basically to an environment. And an environment that we're talking about is the production environment, which is the live environment that's accessible to the public. Like eBay.com's, you know, when you go to ebay.com, whatever you see, that's a production environment. The QA environment is a test environment. The development environment is the engineer's environment that he works on his laptop. So when you're deploying it to production, you're deploying the code directly to a live environment. So post-deployment refers to like after the release, after the deployment. So after the release was done, he's sending an email basically with a status update. He put like a release tracker, which is just basically like it's a link to something that they were tracking. And if you notice in the email, he just puts he puts in some copy, and then he just makes a link. He copies it and he makes a link to the document wherever it is. Confluence is a Wikipedia that's basically used by companies for their internal companies. So every single release might have its own Wikipedia page. We call them a Confluence page. And then this is a link to it, and I'll open in another link for you guys. And then the sprint board, which is obviously you guys are familiar with this. This is the Jira sprint board that shows, this is gonna show all the user stories that went into that release. And the release plan, which was probably their plan of all the things they do on the day of the release. So I'm gonna pop that open as well. Release issues. Issues means like, were there any bugs or this or that? Sometimes there's a list of issues, so you might have a link to like an Excel document or something, Google Excel document, but there was no issues. Regression issues, there's no regression issues. Regression refers to a type of testing that's done, regression testing, and there's no regression issues. And usually the Scrum Masters, project managers that send this notice out, they're called release managers, because at big companies, all they do is focus on code getting deployed to production environments, meaning those release days, he's got so many Scrum teams, maybe 100 different Scrum Masters. They all have like 6 or 7 sprints worth of user stories. So you can imagine like 1,000 user stories, and they're all going to go into like Verizon's website. So he's the manager that's kind of like managing all of that, all of those user stories going in. You most likely will not be a release manager. You're most likely just going to be a Scrum Master. You're going to have your own team that had 3 or 4 sprints that are going to go into a release. So this is how Confluence looks like. You're going to get experience with it. Basically, it's a Wikipedia page that you could edit and you could add whatever. As a Scrum Master, you know, it's a nice place where you could organize your releases. So over here, they put like a little, you know, little section for the start timing. They wanted to have like, if you ever wanted to know who to reach, they put like points of contact, like who are the release managers, who's the sprint manager, who are these development leads, etc. So they have like, you know, you could do this however you want to do this. At Verizon, this is just the way that they organize it. If this is confusing to you, don't worry. Just try to, you know, even if you're understanding 10% of that, that's fine. All right, so this is a Kanban board. Unmute yourself, and if you remember what a Kanban board is, just say, I remember. Nobody remembers? All right.
I vaguely remember.
Okay. So Kanban board, if you guys remember when we used Trello, we had your to-do and you're done. That board was kind of like a Kanban board. And where you're moving stuff from one column to another column, basically. So a Kanban board doesn't, it could be multiple columns of to-do type stuff. In this case, you got like your new user stories. Over here, they had 2,200. That's like crazy, right? Like 2,200 user stories that went in this release. There must have been like, at Verizon, there must have been like 20 or 30 different teams, all with like tons and tons of user stories, right? That were going into this particular release. So this Kanban board, this dashboard, is not for one single Scrum Master. It's for the release manager, so he has a overall look at all user stories that are going in. The value team, this is a column where user stories would have been in this column. You know, the value team, sometimes there are people that business folks that are reviewing it. Anything that's here in a core team, these are like engineers that are reviewing the user story. In develop means that they're in the sprint, they're being developed. UAT means that they're being tested. Ready for production means that these are the guys that are actually done testing, they're ready to be released. And then once after the day after it's released, it goes into production, and that means that they're live. Again, this might be a little bit really crazy and you're drinking from the fire hose. I know for Chris Corrales this might be a lot, but hopefully it'll start making more and more sense. A release plan, again, this is for release managers, and this is stuff that, you know, he just has a Google document, and you could, if you kind of read through, you kind of start understanding that this is what happens on a typical day that they're going to production. So the day for them is started at 5:00 p.m. because usually you release code at nighttime. So that's the one time of the month, or once every 3 months, you're going to be pull an all-nighter, and literally all night you're going to be up and you're going to be monitoring the release. So you can see at 5:00 UAT, the testers, they signed off in what's called the lower environment, and this is the group that did it. Then you can see from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. for 2 hours, this team, they scheduled any changes that had to go live at 10:00 p.m. And then from 10:00 to basically midnight, the UAT production validation. That's basically people, a testing team that is going to go through all the user stories that were now in this UAT environment, and they're going to make sure that everything still looks good. There's nothing weird that's going on. All the fonts and the colors and to the website, you know, nothing is breaking, etc. And then you can see over here from midnight to 1:30, they're doing something called regression testing. We'll talk about that later. And then at 8:00 and onwards, you know, they continue. You don't have to know any of this right now. Don't worry about it. We're going to go into details later on, probably next month in November, where I'm going to be walking you through all this stuff. So if this sounds like French, don't worry about it. But I wanted to give you guys that walkthrough. All right, so the next thing I wanted to show you on our agenda was I wanted to actually go through Google Calendar. So in Google Calendar, you have, let me do a time check real quick just to see. Okay, we got 3 minutes left. So in Google Calendar, you guys, half of you guys might be comfortable setting up meetings and stuff, but I just wanted to show you a few things at a glance. So there's a daily view, and you could change the daily to the weekly to monthly, and so on. I like to see daily views. If I hit weekly, I could see like all the meetings that are coming up. The blue meetings are just my actual work meetings, and you could color other stuff, you know, however you want to remind you of other things. So if I go to my daily meeting, if not everything is visible, so this is like just a reminder for myself to buy a gift for my wife's wedding anniversary that I still haven't done. So if I click on that and click on edit, I went and I made this private. So you could actually change things from public to private. If it was public, everybody at my work would see this, and it'd be really embarrassing. So I kept it private, and then you know, I kept it free. What free means is that if somebody's looking to have a meeting with me between 1 to 2, they're not going to notice that I'm busy at all. They're not going to notice anything that's there. So I made it free. Now, what if I want to make a meeting with somebody and I want to look at their calendar, right? So if I click on this meeting pop-up shows up. If I click on more options, I could say, you know, meeting with boss, right? And I could invite my boss. His name is Joey. So if I click on him, that's my boss. I could decide if he's optional or not by clicking on this. And the stuff that I'm showing you, I'd like you guys to all kind of play around with this. And then lastly, I could go on find a time, and I could actually look into his calendar. So now I could look through to find a time where me and him are not busy. So like on Friday, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we're both open. So I can make a meeting right now, and I know that he's free and I'm free. And then lastly, I'll just end with, because he said that from 12 to 1, he said that he's busy and he's not free. I know that he has a meeting. I just don't know what it's about because it's a private meeting. If it was public, it would actually have the name of it. And from 2 to 3, he might have a meeting, but since he's put free, I have no idea if he has a meeting. It seems like he's free at this time. So I can make a meeting here, and then if I go back to event details, I can fill out whatever it is that I need to talk to him about, and then he'll get a meeting invite. So that's that. It's 5:30 approximately, or I know we got about 2 minutes left. I'm actually going to stop sharing now. I wanted to give you guys that quick brief overview, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue going through in this week. I'm going to give you 15 minutes of theory, 5 to 10 minutes of actual practical Gmail, Jira, and then 5 to 10 minutes of presentations. So I got about 90 seconds left. Mikhail, you're going to be up for tomorrow. I'm going to send you a link to a video that you need to watch. Very short video. It's going to be like 5-10 minutes long. Just watch it and then create a deck. And the deck should be similar to the decks that we had before, where if you go to the homework folder, I'm going to actually share that with you right here so everybody could see. Share. Okay, so if you go to the course folder, everybody should have access to this. Chris Corrales, when you exit this class today, just text me to let me know if you have access to all of this stuff. Hopefully you do. If not, then I could give you access. But everybody should have access to the classes.
Okay.
Cool. And when you go in, then Scrum Fundamentals, and then homework presentations. So Mikhail, if you click on homework presentations, make a brand new presentation here by just clicking on new, click on Google Slides, and automatically everybody will have access to your presentation. Feel free to be creative. Feel free to look at what other people did too. Make it, as cool or as interactive as you want. But the key is that within 5 minutes, you want to summarize the gist of the video so everybody understands it. Less technical, the better, right? Try to make it less technical, more like people friendly, so everybody understands. All right, we're at 5:32. I'm going to end right now. If anybody needs to drop, feel free to go ahead and drop. And if anybody has any questions, I'm going to stay on for any questions.
Ali, can you send me that stuff via email again?
Yep, I will. I'll shoot it to you right after the class. Yep.
And then just the only thing that I was concerned about was just technical glitches, because I'm, on my phone, my laptop is still having the camera issue.
Okay.
So that's the only other thing. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, so because you're going to have it in the folder, if this is what we did with Bilal.
Sure.
If you can't share it, we could have one of us share it for you.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Cool. Anybody else have any questions? Chris or Kamala, Bilal?
No, I'm good.
Sorry, late.
No worries.
Ali, you said going forward, you're going to do 15 minutes theory, 5 minutes email examples, right?
Yep.
And then five minutes of presentation.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. And I'll always try to start off with the theory. That way, if any of you guys, for whatever reason, have to drop within 15 minutes, at least the first 15 minutes, you'll get the theory in. Awesome. Cool. Kamala, any questions?
No, I'm good. Charlie.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Great job, guys. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Oh,
So.